Good afternoon, RE/MAX Associate Agents. Rob Oakey here and Matt Barton with this week's Broker Minute. There he is. Hey, we've got some great information here that we'd like to share with you. A couple of things. We're looking at three things that we're specifically talking about. Right now, we want to talk about commissions in general and how that impacts our contracts when certain things happen. For example, let's say that in sections of our contracts we leave blanks in those contracts, or we put another acronym of, say, TBD, to be determined at a later date. There's some problems that creates. That creates ambiguity. It prevents, it eliminates a meeting of the mind, which is one of the elements to form a contract, is that you've got to have that meeting of minds. And when that doesn't exist, you now have a problem. The piece pertaining to commissions, for example, let's say that in a buyer-broker agreement, you either left that section of the buyer-broker agreement blank, or you put zero. Section 2. You leave that section blank, or you put zero. And your intent is...
Or put TBD.
Or put TBD, exactly. You intend to modify that at a later date. Well, there's some problems that creates. The contract itself is unclear, so you can make an argument that because you didn't have anything there was no meeting of the mind, therefore it's not enforceable. That's one piece of it. Another element of that is the fact that we are not complying with the NAR settlement agreement that we have in place. And remember, that contract is with the brokerage, not you as the agent. So the brokerage has not met an agreement, and therefore there is nothing that we can do going forward. So the company's position is we've got to make sure that we stay out of the crosshairs with the NAR settlement. And if you do leave that section either blank or at a lower percentage that maybe the seller is willing to pay, we don't have the ability to modify, do an addendum to make that change, because our services as an agent have not changed. So just understand that going forward, you got to put whatever in section 2 of compensation that you're hoping to receive. That's the starting point, and we've got to have a number. We can't have a blank. We can't have a TBD. We've got to have a number. So hopefully this makes sense. If there's any questions about it, please reach out to myself or Matt Barton.
Can I chime in one thing before we wrap up, Rob? I think one part that a lot of agents, it's like, what's the big deal? My buyer is willing to sign a document saying they're willing to pay me more, and I get that argument, right? And you and I have talked about this, Rob. But that doesn't change the national settlement, right? And some people will be like, well, no one's even going to raise an issue between the buyer and seller. They're both in agreement. Again, that's not the issue. The issue is, just like happened last time, a lot of times agents who aren't familiar with the process of litigation and discovery nowadays, and you can check, I mean, whether it's MLSs or brokerages or whatever, if anybody gets a whiff that you're not complying with that, you're now subject to a new class action lawsuit. And since the vast majority of our company is agent owned, and we don't want to get into a lawsuit, and even if we were to prevail, the cost of prevailing in a lawsuit is astronomical. So the company's policy, and Rob and I are in agreement on this, Ron's in agreement on this, Gold Nation's in agreement on this, is we will operate under the terms of the national settlement to keep ourselves out of the risk game. Even if we were to be able to prevail, which we probably wouldn't, we're not going to put ourselves and you as owners and or your clients at risk, right?
Well said. Well said. I think the biggest misunderstanding is, can the contract be modified? Absolutely. Parties can modify the contract, and it's legally permissible. But that's different than honoring and adhering to the terms of the NAR settlement, and that's the distinction. So again, if there's any questions about this is incredible information, and we need to make sure that we're following it. And we appreciate all you do and happy to answer any questions if you do have any. All right, talk to you later. Thanks, bye.